Imagine a city where founders built the walls so high and roofs so low that no one living there had ever seen the sun. Over generations, the people came to believe this darkness was a sacred architecture. The boundaries of this city were guarded by keepers, men in elaborate robes holding absolute authority over the gates. They told the citizens to stay away from the walls and to trust only the light the keepers provided. But on 3 separate mornings, a messenger from outside arrived. Each declared the sun was for everyone, creating literal cracks in the established walls. The true tragedy of the city is not that the walls exist. It is that when the light finally broke through, it triggered a violent psychological rejection from within the city itself. The keepers attacking these messengers is easy to explain. It is a predictable defense of their institutional power. The real mystery lies with the ordinary citizens. Why do people who have everything to gain run deeper into the shadows when the walls finally crack? Human beings possess an incredibly powerful instinct to fight against truths that offer them freedom. To solve this psychological mystery, we have to leave the parable and examine 3 specific historical cases where this exact pattern played out. In the 1st century, Paul of Tarsus confronted a system of Roman and Jewish law. This system demanded strict, exhausting behavioral compliance to earn divine favor. 1,000 years later, Martin Luther stood against a medieval Catholic Church that had turned salvation into a commercial transaction. And in the early 20th century, Felix Manalo emerged from the Far East, preaching amid a landscape of colonial and denominational confusion. Each of these messengers appeared when powerful empires and religious authorities held a total monopoly on spiritual access. The keepers of these eras fought back because these 3 messengers preached direct access to God. That concept rendered the institution's complex rituals and permissions completely worthless. The resistance was never really about protecting theological purity. It was a panic over losing economic control and the power to decide who was saved. For an individual, walking through a crack in the wall involves a loss that goes far deeper than changing a set of beliefs. For Paul's audience, embracing grace required abandoning the centuries of strict traditions that gave their lives meaning and social structure. For Luther's audience, accepting free salvation meant looking at their family's poverty and realizing they had paid for something that had always been free. For Manalo's listeners, his message required abandoning colonial traditions that defined their belonging, just as the world around them was falling apart. This illustrates a psychological trap, the sunk cost fallacy of the soul. It's the heavy weight of the past preventing a person from accepting a better future. Stepping into the light requires admitting that your fathers lived and died in the cold darkness for nothing. Ordinary people do not choose the wall because the darkness is warm. They choose it because admitting that error is a grief too heavy for a proud heart to bear. In each of these eras, the institutional effort to patch the walls ultimately failed. Despite the suppression and the rejection, the light continued to expand through the cracks. This friction is the engine of the pattern. Paul's imprisonment scattered the gospel across an empire. Luther's trials ended the medieval monopoly on the Bible. Manalo's work amid global warfare established a final sanctuary exactly when the old structures of the world were being ground into the dust. The chaos and persecution surrounding these 3 messengers were the violent sound of old walls finally breaking apart. The truth is patient. It does not rise to reward the keepers, nor does it rise to punish them. It simply exists, free for everyone. What walls are you defending simply because your fathers lived in their shadow? You have the option to drop that burden and simply look upward.